I'm Adam Collins, he's Jeff Lemon, and this is the Final Word World Cup Daily, day 4 of the tournament. That's being played down at Bellerive Oval in Tasmania. We are in Colac. This is a day where they're playing in Group B. There was Scotland up against Ireland, a cracking game of cricket, which we'll talk about in a moment. Then the Windies playing Zimbabwe, Jeff, and we're here because Visit Victoria and Visit Melbourne have sent us around southwest Victoria.
Lake Colac. Colac is Aaron Finch country. If you look closely, you can see Aaron Finch swimming in Lake Colac, just out there. Just goes across and back about 6 times a day. That's how he stays.
Wasn't it him in the jet ski back there a moment ago?
Yeah, I think so. Loves the jet ski. Thankfully, that's dried up a little bit. This is the largest freshwater lake in Victoria, I'll have you know. It was created by volcanic activity a long time ago. There was some volcanic activity in Victoria today, actually. There was a little tremor in Melbourne. I heard that on the radio.
There you go.
Yeah. Also a lot of flooding as well around a lot of the state. So everybody who's doing it tough in Victoria, our thoughts are with you. This is a spot in Victoria where things are okay at the moment. The lake dried up 10 years ago when we had the drought, 12 years ago, 2009, but it's back in full force and good to go at the moment.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot. We were here yesterday with Winnie. My parents live about a quarter of an hour from here in Birregurra, where we will be later. But yeah, we had a huge playground with all the swings and all the toys you could possibly want for a 2.5-year-old. So gorgeous part of Victoria. Great to be here to talk about, as I say, the first of the 2 games today, the doubleheader. Scotland up against Ireland. I'm going to do the honours and take a 30-second summary.
30 seconds.
What a game it was. So Scotland got the chance to bat first. Michael Jones calling Michael Jones. 86 from 55, his first half-century in this format of the game. He put on 77 with the captain Berrington. Got them up to 176 for 5 in their 20 overs. Ireland, for some reason, bowled Campher for only 2 overs and Bazza McCarthy for 4. McCarthy went for plenty. Camp for 2 for 9. But Big Kurt made up for it with the bat. They were 4 for sod all. Ireland. There was a 90% chance, according to WinViz, of Scotland taking the honours. But then Ireland, the partnership between Dockrell and Campher, unbeaten, 119, a stunning victory. Campher finishes on 72 not out in 32 balls. Dockrell, brilliant down the other end as well. Ireland win a game, and they're very much back in the tournament. What a win.
Dockrell doing it with the bat. I mean, when he came on the scene all those years ago, he was a 9 or a 10 and has come up the order since. I mean, Curtis Campher, we saw him take 4 wickets in 4 balls a year ago, just about.
He loves the qualification stage of the T20 World Cup because he won that game with the ball, didn't he? I think they were way behind and he managed to drag it back with that double hat-trick, the 4 in 4, which was quite controversial for us calling it a double hat-trick at the time. It is, if you understand sequences rather than cumulative numbers, you will know that it is indeed a double hat-trick. But Curtis Campher, that was the highest ever score for an Irish player in a T20 World Cup. It was the highest score for an associate nation chasing successfully in any T20.
No, but his score, his personal score, was only 68 or so. I mean, that surprised me that they hadn't had a bigger total than that.
Right, yeah. It didn't surprise me that Campher did it. I tweeted when he was on 18. Just remember, this is my boy who's going to smack Ireland to victory, and so he did. I interviewed...
You've been all over Curtis Campher from day one, and I will say this. Anytime Curtis Campher takes the ball or takes strike, I hope Adam's watching this, because he will be very excited no matter what happens.
I interviewed him a number of times in the bubble when they were in England playing One Day International. Good backstory. Played South Africa 19s. Could have gone on to play for South Africa, but he had the Irish passport. But he's not just a fly-in, fly-out kind of guy. He actually made the move to commit to playing first-class cricket, doing his time, getting selected, hit 2 half-centuries back-to-back in that 50-over series against England and bowled quickly, and he was really exciting. And yeah, great to see him take this next step. But I tell you what, he, along with Dockrell, the way they were able to turn that game, turn that chase, I mentioned in the summary that WinViz had it at 90% for Scotland winning. What were they at one stage? They were 4 for 61 for 4, depending on where you went to school. Teams don't win from there. Very rarely do teams win from there, even in a T20 when there's that degree of volatility. And it was actually Dockrell. I credit Dockrell with kind of getting it started. He hit a big 6 in the 12th over off Greaves. Then the next over, they took Mark Watt down. Nobody takes Mark Watt down. Not last year in the 2021 tournament. He was always frugal, and we saw the other night that he was frugal and effective and a bit of a cult hero. They took 18 from the 13th over. That gave them belief, and then Leask bowled over 14. I think that was worth 13 or 14. So the spin strategy that worked so well for Scotland when they defeated the Windies a couple of days ago was taken apart. Then they went after the seamers, the 2 county pros in Brad Will and Josh Davey, who've been wonderful contributors, especially Davey to Scottish cricket over the journey, and unfortunately he was the man who bowled over number 19.
Well, that really, it got me in the heart, that bit, because at that point, look, the Irish needed 9 from 9 balls. They'd been struggling. They were running well. They were getting back for twos on occasion, and they'd managed to narrow down the runs required and balls remaining gap, so it was 1-on-1. But there's still a chance for a bowling side at that point. There's still, if they can squeeze out a couple of dot balls, they pick up a wicket, then suddenly the pressure's back on. Someone tries to hit a boundary, someone else gets out.
Sure.
And you can get back into a game at that late stage. And he bowled one that sort of swung really wide and was just missed out on. Curtis Camford couldn't get bat on it, and then he just bowled a wide full toss that wasn't supposed to go there, but it was high, it was wide, and Camford slashed it over short third for 4. And I mean, Josh Davey has worked so hard for Scotland for so long. It just, I don't know, it just got me in the feelings that he was the one to make that one mistake that let them finally pretty much tilt the game their way.
Yeah, he's one of the best bowlers in England, Josh Davey, dominating for Somerset year after year, and always makes the commitment to come back and play for Scotland around the world whenever he gets the opportunity. And that square drive from Camphor probably summed up his innings. Only 2 sixes, which is unusual when it's 72 from 32. You're thinking bulk sixes, right? But that wasn't that kind of innings. It was more that he was finding the gaps and placing the ball so well, and so it was fitting that he raised the victory sort of in that way. 119 in 10 overs that pair put on. So, stunning stuff to keep Ireland in the tournament. Earlier on, he bowled 2 overs and took 2 for 9. Didn't bowl his full complement. I mentioned Barry McCarthy earlier. Barry McKenzie, fair sucker the sauce bottle. Bowled 4 overs, none for 59, which must be the worst figures for Scotland at this tournament. For Ireland, rather, at this tournament. And, he bowled.
Might be the worst figures for Scotland as well. 59. 59. Goodness me.
And it just felt like Andy Balbirnie, the Irish captain, who I have a lot of time for, it just missed a trick there. Kind of, sometimes when you got a lot of bowlers to pick from, that you kind of lose
Everyone
track of it a little bit. Like because they've got 7 bowlers, Ireland. You can lose track of who's bowled what, and Camphor didn't bowl at the death when he probably should have. So, that gave Michael Jones the chance to play his best innings for Scotland in this format of the game so far. He hit 4 sixes and 6 fours, and batted through until the 19th over. He put on 77 in, I think it was 8 overs with the captain Berrington through the middle overs of that innings, and had a useful partnership of 55 for the second wicket as well. So unfortunate that it's in a losing team, but they're still alive in the comp because they beat the Windies a couple of days ago.
But it stings for Scotland batting that well and still having it be a game that gets away from them. So everything's levelled up just about. Ireland have a win, Scotland have a win, and we don't yet know who's going to win out of Zimbabwe and West Indies because that hasn't happened yet, but we're going to find out very shortly. Right, part 2 of the show. You can see that the second game has just finished. We've been watching it in the pub in Birregurra. We're at the Royal Mail Hotel, which is extremely picturesque. They've done a very good job of the renovation in here. It's been a lovely place. We've spent the evening in here watching the game. Not everybody in town was glued to the result of Zimbabwe-West Indies, but we were.
Yeah, I love it around here. My parents have been living up this way for a time now, so I've been in this pub a number of times over the years. It reopened in 2021. They've done a great renovation. There's some cricket murals on the wall that were made for this particular pub. They're not prints, but they're really cool. I've taken some shots on them, just dropped them there in the video, in the edit. There's a cricket link to the pub. It's a wonderful town. It was a gorgeous sunset this evening, Jeff, after we finished recording at Lake Colac, which was over the top of my where I was sitting at the time. And yes, it was a lovely evening. Not that we were playing cricket, but a nice night for the playing of cricket. This main street's a belter. The general store a few doors down from here was selling bags of cheese and onion samboys for 50 cents a pop earlier today. If that's not incentive enough. And then on the other side of the market, you can come to Bray, which is, I guess, perhaps the most famous restaurant in Victoria, or near enough to it. That's also in Birregurra. So, but yes, first thing you should do is come to the Royal Mail Hotel.
It's all the places that you can get to if you come in through Melbourne. You can plan your Melbourne moment at visitmelbourne.com and then come out into regional Victoria and have a look around, as we've been doing. Right, Zimbabwe, West Indies. Should I do it in 30 seconds?
Try your best.
Windies looked pretty good at one point. They were 1 for 77, and then the squeeze came. Sikandar Raza at the forefront with the ball rather than the bat. They kept West Indies to 153 for 7, and even that took a huge last over from Rovman Powell to get them up past 150. But then West Indies too good with the ball. Zimbabwe were off to a flyer as well. That derailed, and when Sikandar Raza got out for 14, all the attention is on him, and once he was gone, they were 5 down at that point, and in strife, and they ended up losing by 30-odd runs.
It was a really strange first innings, wasn't it? Because it threatened to go big, and then Sikandar Raza, that intervention, 3 wickets in 5 balls, I think it was. Bharat Sundaresan, our colleague, often on the final word, but usually at Cricket Buzz, made the point that how often do you see a player who is clearly their most important bowler and batter at the same time? Now, of course, bowling is his second discipline, but it does feel like how goes Sikandar Raza, so goes the nation to an extent with their cricket team at the moment. Like, because when he took those 3 wickets, it was a possibility they could have kept them to sort of 130, 140 and won that game of cricket. Doesn't quite play out that way. And in the chase, Raza hits a big bomb to get himself going, and he's out 2 balls later. And from that point, 1 ball later, sorry, I thought it was a couple of balls. And that's when the game flips for the West Indies and ensures they get on the board.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. If you looked at 2 disciplines, maybe someone like Andy Flower, so good with the bat and then also as a wicketkeeper. But when you're talking about being the most significant player bowling and batting, that's something that happens at lower levels of cricket, but it doesn't tend to happen at international level. It was a game that went back and forth. So Richard Ngrava has had a really good couple of games. His first 2 overs were significant. Only conceded 10 runs in his first 2 overs. That included a 6. So he was really tight early on. And Kyle Mayers couldn't get away, and he's used to hitting out at the top of the order. And then Blessing Muzarabani, who's been excellent as well at times, gets a lot of bounce, gets the top edge from Mayers, gets him out. But the Windies are going pretty well after that, because Johnson Charles, the man with the backwards name, he starts hitting bombs. They have a couple of slow overs just after the power play, but 49 in the power play, then a couple of slow overs, then a couple of big ones. And, I mean, he's got them to that 77 for 1 point. Like, near the halfway mark, you're thinking that's enough of a base for them to push on and make, say, 170, 180, which should be enough for them to defend. And then suddenly it all changes, and it was Sean Williams as well as Sikandar Raza, the 2 of them pairing up to take the pace off the ball. Yeah, Williams took 1 for 17 off 3. Whenever I see Johnson Charles' name, I think of Justin Charles, the former Footscray and Richmond ruckman from many a year ago. I don't. You don't? No, it's something we don't have in common. That's how my brain is wired. But yeah, Williams is another who... Every time I see Southern Cross Station, I think of Danny Southern. Danny Southern Cross Station. Danny Spencer Street Station. Lady Diana Southern Cross. You think about Sean Williams and you go back to the 2015 World Cup. Indeed, the corresponding fixture against the West Indies in Canberra when Chris Gale made that. Was it double ton? I think it was a double ton. Against Zim, yeah. Yeah, against Zim. And then in Canberra. For about half an hour, it was in Canberra. Yeah. For about half an hour, it looked like Sean Williams was going to chase it down. And he hasn't always been available for the Windies. He didn't play for Zimbabwe, rather. He didn't play. He's never been available for the West Indies. Never for them. In that tri-series where Australia were in Zimbabwe when I was there in 2018, he was involved in that dispute. So, but it's good to see him playing. And obviously it hasn't worked out for them tonight. But and again, it's those 2 big wickets. Williams out for 1, Raza out for 14. But they're needed with the ball as well, because that's where they're weaker at the moment. It's clear they're a better batting team than they are a bowling team. But they bowled so well. After that point, so Raza picks up 2 in and over. He gets Jason Holder caught and bowled as well, leading edge, and he gets Shamar Brooks LBW, and there's the run out as well. So Johnson Charles gets run out when he's flying 45 off 36 balls. And after that, everybody chips in. All of the Zimbabwe bowlers up until the 20th over are able to keep a lid on things. And then Rovman Powell, he's been out there for about 5 or 6 overs at this point. He's been sort of building and trying to figure out how he can try to hit big, and eventually it gets dug in short by Muzarabani a couple of times, and Rodman Powell just slays a couple of sixes, one of them literally out of the ground, out of the concourse, like it would have been a 6 in 1880 when you used to have to hit it into the road to get 6 rather than 4. So they need him now, don't they? Because you think about the Windies, when they were winning World Cups 12 and 16, but especially 16, they had kind of like 4 number 7s, or maybe 4 number 6.5s, or something like that. Yep. After Rodman Power comes Brooks and then Holder, and then you're down to Akhil Hussain. So they're not, can hit, but he's not like a. And he did well tonight. He made 23 not out from 18 balls, a couple of boundaries at the death. But the point I'm making is the same one you did, I suppose, a couple of nights ago, is that they don't present as daunting as they did in World Cups. Prior to this one. Sure, and they don't have Darren Sammy. Where is Darren Sammy? Bring back Darren Sammy. That's commentary, what people are saying. Yeah, well, it was good to see that Samuel Badgery didn't have to wear the blanket tonight. No, that's true. He was just wearing his regular duds in the dugout, so the weather has eased in Hobart. But poor old Zimbabwe, I mean, they should have won it, really. Like, off the first over, 18 for none.
Yeah. That's right. The first over was...
Regis Chikubva hits 3 boundaries, and there are 5 wides as well in the over, and Kyle Mays is bowling that.
Doesn't bowl again. 1 over for 17.
And fair enough. But he's been opening the bowling a lot, which does make me wonder how many players regularly open the batting and the bowling in T20 international cricket.
It's probably like Cam Green did it the other week, right?
Sure.
Like you can imagine a world where Cam Green gets that responsibility into the future, but not quite yet.
He's not in the squad.
No.
Not in the squad. Nobody got injured. They didn't take anybody out
not
to
yet.
get him
Although
in.
I did see an injury this evening, I should throw in. Reece Topley's just been ruled out of the England squad.
He doesn't play for Australia.
No, but just I should say, given
Sean Williams doesn't play for the West Indies.
He fell, Reece, when fielding on a boundary Toblerone in a fielding drill. We know the tortured history of Reece Topley and his back.
Yeah.
That is keeping him out of a World Cup, twisting his ankle on a boundary rope in a fielding drill. Tamal Mills has been brought in.
Does it seem like an injury that's they've replaced him?
Serious injury. They've already replaced him.
That's awful. I didn't know that.
Shit news, isn't it?
Really,
Looking forward to watching him bowl in the World Cup.
And
anyway,
all right. Sorry, you've thrown me there. That's really that's.
And Josh Inglis cut his hand when playing golf.
When cutting some biltong.
Something. I think he was playing golf or something.
Stop playing golf, cricketers. A, it's boring and it sucks, and B, you keep injuring yourself.
Yeah, well, maybe the latter, not the former.
Right. So even when Chikubva gets out, they're 29 from 2.2 overs at this point. And Wesley Mataveri's going great guns, and a couple more wickets fall, but then Sikandar Raza comes out to join him, and you're like, okay, they can do this. Their run rate was up there. Wesley Mataveri gets out, and then Sikandar Raza, as you said, hits that one big 6 over the leg side, tries to repeat it over the offside, holes out. He's caught it mid-off, 14 off 8 balls. And this is the thing, it's 64 for 5, and that's basically it. But their 64 has come off 44 balls.
Yeah.
So in terms of the run rate, they're up there. They've just thrown too many wickets away. And they got really nowhere near it. I mean, there was a bit of a late throw of the bat that narrowed the margin a bit, but they were pretty much gone from that point.
Yeah, I mean, the Windies' quickest bowler, Alzarri Joseph, he was used carefully. I think they used him in 4 single-over spells, which meant that he takes 4 for 16 from 4 and looks the match winner. It isn't quite as obvious as that, but towards the end, when there were any chance of building some sort of late surge towards the finish line, it was with Zhong Wei, wasn't it? He hit stumps twice in that last over that he bowled and finishes with those really impressive figures. And, he's a bowler who's been around for a fair while now, Alzarri Joseph, and across the 3 formats he's been impressive. But, on nights like tonight, you can see why he's so highly sought after in some of the domestic competitions and why he's one of the first names on the team sheet for the Windies.
So that leaves everybody in the group with 1 win apiece.
Yeah.
West Indies, Ireland, Scotland, Zimbabwe. They all have 1 win each, which means that the winners of the final round of games will go through. So the Windies play Ireland, Scotland plays Zimbabwe. Whoever wins those games goes through into the main draw. That's it. Don't have to worry about net run rate.
This is it.
Forget it.
This is what I like. So in Group A, it's all about net run rate. In all probability, when we're having this conversation in 24 hours, it's going to be a net run rate discussion.
It's going to be when 3 become 2.
That'll be what it is, when 3 becomes 2. In the other group, it doesn't matter what your run rate is. It's all about those kind of quasi-quarterfinals that'll play out on Friday at Belrive Oval.
Yeah, quasi-quarterfinals, I like it. Double Q, W. Right, so that's what we have to look forward to in the next round from this group, but we've got the final round from the other group tomorrow, which will be at Geelong, where we will be trying to figure out what net run rate means. Hall of Fame. Most final word moments of the day. I liked when Alzarri Joseph hit the stumps of Richard Ngarave and the bail went, I think, about 30 metres. It just flew out of the shot like they were playing that Queen song. Burning through the night. Yeah, off it went. Don't stop me, don't stop me. And it just landed, I don't know, most of the way down towards deep third. Happy days when you can do that as a bowler.
I love the Ryan Bell review. Ryan Bell, famous
that sounds like a great movie, actually.
Yeah,
the Ryan Bell review.
He was most famous until recently for requesting a pair of spikes on Twitter and saying that the boots he had through Zimbabwe weren't good enough and getting a sponsor through that to give him a pair of sprigs. And then more recently, when you were away, Jeff, he took 5 for 10, I think, against Australia to win that one-day international, the third and final one-day, which was a big deal. He ran through the Australian lower half.
Sure.
Today, that review would go down as, I can't think of a worse one.
Those shoes got blown off.
Yeah, that's right. He'll need a new pair of boots again.
Yeah. He got hit. Jason Holder, round the wicket, angling it in, right arm around the wicket, hits him on the back foot in front of middle stump. And Ryan Bell says, I think I might see if that one's hitting. Yep, here comes the update. It is hitting.
It's hitting middle. 3 inches off the turf
Right,
as well.
right.
It's not like it's sort of
Yeah.
maybe sliding down. I suppose.
And therein lies the irony. These boots are in fact not made for walking. That is not what they did. He decided to stick around. And then, very next ball, and this is Blocker Wilson umpiring, very next ball, there's a flay outside the off stump. Nicholas Purin goes absolutely wild behind the stumps. Yes, out, runs away to square leg. Blocker says no. Nicholas Purin says review, because he's the captain, he's allowed to do that. They go upstairs. Nothing, like daylight, no noise, no spike, no contact, nothing. And Blocker's got 2 in 2, and the people who went up against him have failed both times.
Yeah, the Windies are none for 6 using DRS in this tournament so far. A little stat bump up on the television. One more from me from the first game. Michael Jones hit a 6 that went over the top of, I think they call it the Northwest Stand at Belrive. On radio we renamed it the Alex Doolan Stand during a test match earlier this year, but it's the same stand that Nathan Lyon cleared twice when hooking Mark Wood onto the road, into the house across the road. And I like that as a tribute to Nathan Lyon, we've seen a similar kind of trajectory today from the man who made 86 in a losing effort, Michael Jones.
And I like, my last Hall of Fame is that when we came into this pub tonight and said, can we make you stay here late so that we can film a video about the cricket, I found out that the publican here is the brother of the guy who founded the Fitzroy Pub Cricket League in Melbourne, which is where I ply my trade. That's the right sort of level. An absolute institution, the Fitzroy Pub Cricket League. So a shout out to Artie Watkin for his work way back in the day putting that together.
Yes, and a shout out for Paul for looking after us tonight here at the pub, the Royal Mail Hotel in Birregurra, and thanks to visitmelbourne.com. You should jump on there, plan your Melbourne visit. It's the gateway to Victoria. We're in southwest Victoria this week. We'll be back in southwest Victoria later in the summer as well. We've loved our time so far. Tomorrow we'll be back at the Cattery at Cardinia Park for the final day of the group stages at Group A. So it's going to be. Remind me what those games are, Jeff.
They will be Namibia playing the
UAE and Sri Lanka playing the Netherlands.
There we go.
Net run rate day.
We
tomorrow.
never forget. We are like elephants.
If you like what we do, patreon.com/the final word. Catch you tomorrow.
Later.